Hey creative family, it's Timothy Coleman and we're here for another amazing episode of Emerging Media Makers. Learning Lab 2, we're down here in the South Bronx at our Media and Technology Studios, and this is the classroom that you're gonna see when you sign up for classes here in the South Bronx. Look at all this amazing space. We rearranged this room based on which class you're taking. Now, the only thing you need to do is go to BronxNet.org/education and sign up and come and join us. We've got an amazing certified producer for you to meet today, so let's start the show.
It's been a long time since the Bronx was burning. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, the rich stories from our community continue to captivate and entertain audiences from the Bronx and beyond. Welcome to Emerging Media Makers. This show was created to shine a light on the talent and vision of BronxNet's Access producers. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
Hey creative family, my name is Timothy Coleman. I'm the Director of Education for BronxNet and your host for Emerging Media Makers. Welcome to the show. Our goal is to shine a light on the amazing talents of our certified producers, as well as to introduce you to how easy it is to get your creative ideas in front of the world. By participating in one of our certification classes, you too could become a producer of your own show at one of our 3 BronxNet locations. We have studios at Mercy University in Westchester Square, in Carman Hall on the campus of Lehman College, and here at BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx. We have certification classes in field production and in studio production that will teach you the basics of TV production, plus a host of other classes that will support you on your journey of content creation. Everyone starts with a free masterclass called Masterclass: How to Unleash Your Ideas. In this class, you'll get an overview of how previously certified community members have gone on to produce their own original programming. We also leave time in that class to hear your questions, give you some feedback, and help you figure out which classes are going to help you move forward that are best suited for your needs. If you're a person who is hesitant to take that first step into TV production because maybe you don't want to be in front of the camera as a host, then rest assured there are several positions available that need your support, like audio engineering, set design, maybe you want to operate the camera, do floor management, maybe you even want to be a producer of a show and have someone else host it for you. Check out BronxNet.org/education for more information and find out how easy it is to start producing your original idea for the Bronx and beyond. When we come back, I've got an amazing certified producer with us here today. He's going to tell you about some things that are local to the Bronx and global for the rest of the world. We'll be right back after these messages.
Only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. "55% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. "34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit BronxNet.org to learn more.
Welcome back, creative family. This is Emerging Media Makers. On today's show, we will be highlighting a super talented gentleman named Patrick Tomlinson. Patrick was born in Jamaica. He came to the United States just after high school and completed his degree in mechanical engineering at City College of New York. During his college years, he was introduced to African American history and has been fascinated by the subject ever since. He's a practicing engineer and also an access producer on BronxNet, featuring current events, history, biography, culture, and entrepreneurship. He considers himself privileged to be a part of the BronxNet family, and to date has been enjoying creating his show Respections at our stations. Please, let's hear it directly from Patrick. Let's welcome him to the show.
Thank you,
doing,
Tim.
sir?
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
so
having
much
me.
for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you for
Listen,
having me.
I'm excited to talk to you, right? Because there's a lot that I want people to know about your show, but I always say this quote that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Sure.
And with that, I want to start with your origins, just as a human being on the earth. Where are you from? I know I just told them it's Jamaica, but how did you get from Jamaica to the United States? So just give us a little bit of your background.
Okay, very good. Well, people have been moving around the world ever since. My grandmother lived in Jamaica in the United States around the time of Marcus Garvey, so I had strong connections. When after high school, when it became time to finish my post-secondary education, New York was a logical place. Mm-hmm. So I ended up at City College in New York.
Okay. And when you were growing up, were you always a fan of media, of like television and films? Like, was that interesting to you, or like did someone kind of guide you in the way of TV production?
Well, I was always fascinated by culture, music, but my interest was sparked when later on in life, and especially when I got exposed to Lehman College and the media house that you have here. So it really came later on, but I always had an interest in culture.
Nice.
And history.
And so when you were at City College, like at what point, what were you studying, and did that have anything to do with what you're doing now?
Not really, but I always like to tell people I was very privileged to have as my keynote speaker at the graduation, the famous James Baldwin.
Oh my gosh.
So he was my, when I graduated, he gave the commencement speech.
Wow.
And shortly thereafter, he passed on. But I always remember that, and that has left an indelible, impression on me.
Right.
And as I said, I began to read stories relating to the Harlem Renaissance and so many interesting writers, John Toomer, Claude McKay, Zora Neale Hurston. So I've always had an interest in culture and music and history.
See, I think that's really powerful, because when you speak from a position of knowledge about these types of subject areas and about people's lives,
Right.
It is so much more enriching for the audience, right? I know that there are a lot of folks, it's media, right? So a lot of folks love to say, oh, this about this person, this about that person, but you're actually sharing true rooted cultural types of themes and concepts. So at what point did it click for you that you wanted to create television, that you wanted to create a show?
Okay, very good question. Well, I had a curious privilege of starting with African American history. And I did not only one course, but several courses. And my mind was so open to the vast culture of the experience of people of color and the history behind their experiences in this country. So having had those stories and knowing some of them, it was always in the back of my mind to try to find an avenue to express and to tell some of those stories.
Right. And so so tell me a little bit about the makeup of your show. Like if someone tunes into your show, what are they going to see?
Okay. Well, I as I said, and in your introduction, they'll see probably my featuring somebody who is speaking on some sort of cultural event, or it might be something of a historical nature, or it might be something related to current affairs. the last feature I did, which was last Saturday, I had the privilege of seeing Shakespeare put on in Marcus Garvey Park, and it was an all African American cast principally, and seeing them do it in a modern day setting was fascinating. So and I got that invitation from a good friend of mine who said, well, you know, this event is going to be taking place in Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem. A couple of weeks before, I went to do something on the poor houses in the Bronx, which is related to the Bronx Historical Society. And just close to that, they had a very big Dominican parade. A lot of the political representatives from the area were there, and the music was so enriching and invigorating, and so I captured that also. So I'm not really pocketed into one particular avenue, as long as it's...
Which I think keeps the show interesting, right?
Absolutely,
It
I
keeps
try
you
to.
learning as well, right? Like,
Absolutely.
are you, like, tell me something that you feel like you've learned, right? Like, sometimes you might have a host on your show and you're talking to them about their life or about, you know, the culture that they represent. What's like something really like fascinating that you've learned in the middle of doing your show?
Okay. Well, let's talk about the name of my show. I had a guest, and he was a patent attorney. Regrettably, he passed on. But he sensitized me to intellectual property and the importance of intellectual property and the importance of even branding, which you're talking about. And
right.
yes, and so from that, I learned from him the importance of, for example, a name. And he enlightened me to the fact that the previous name of my show was a very common name. And so there was a possibility of it somewhere down the road, maybe some infringement issue coming up.
Yes.
So he suggested, he said, listen, try to find a name which is not a standard name in English, but a name that is, there's no contrast. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I learned from him something that was so eye-opening and so revealing and so educative to me,
Yes.
which I really appreciate on the show.
Okay, so you really are speaking to my heart, right? This is my language right here. The branding, the intellectual property. There are many times when I'm coaching folks and you know, helping them get their businesses started from scratch.
Right.
A lot of that work has been here in the Bronx, specifically here in the South Bronx with some of the families.
Right.
And one thing that I'm always telling folks is when you come up with whatever you feel like the name is going to be of your particular product, you should definitely go to Google and look it up and see if that name already exists in multiple other places. But then you should also be going to if you're going to be on Instagram or YouTube or wherever you're going to host all of the other things, you should also be looking to see if someone has it on there, right? If someone has already claimed that that handle that they call it, right? The at whatever, right? So Respections, how did you put all the letters together? Why that particular word?
Because I wanted something that sort of spoke to reflections, looking back with the intent for it to help you to go forward.
Yes.
So I wanted a sort of a play on it. But I'll just share this very important point with you, Tim. Many years ago, I was doing some research in history, and I went to the Schomburg in Harlem, and there was a document that was written on the life of an African American who participated in the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, I'll not name for particular reasons, but later on, I did a piece on the life of this person, and a couple of years back, as you mentioned, a couple of years later, I checked, and somebody had actually registered rights
Oh, wow.
to that particular work. I don't know how they did it when it was in public space.
domain?
Yeah, public
Right,
domain.
right.
but it speaks to exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, you can never do enough research to make sure your original idea is protected in the future. And I don't think naturally, that general citizens are thinking that way.
Right.
But if you don't limit your vision and view to just what you see today, and you open your mind to, hey, this could be something really viable in the future, this could be something lucrative in the future, then you'll begin to think more what I call forward thinking. You'll have more forward thinking. And just making sure that you are protected is so very, very, very important. So Respections, I love that name. And it also has the word respect in it, right? It's not just about the reflection callback, right? Like it's still like you're talking about things where we can put more respect back into our culture and history based on the things that we're learning as we move forward. And I think that's really powerful. When can folks see your show? When is it on?
It's usually on a Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m.
Okay.
On, I believe it's channel 70.
Okay.
And it's for half an hour, and it's a weekly show. I have had a little bit of challenge post-COVID. Everybody was kind of locked down.
Everyone.
Yes.
Getting back in the flow of everything. Yes.
But that's the time when like I said, I've tried to and endeavored to present interesting cultural issues and things that are helpful to people.
That's right. That's right. Well, and they always say, if you don't learn your history, you're bound to repeat it.
Absolutely.
Right? So, Patrick, I appreciate that you came and joined us today. Folks, you heard it right here. You said Saturday mornings, 9:30 a.m. Check it out right here on BronxNet. You can always check our website. You can always send us an email if there are shows or producers that you get to know and you want to be reminded of when their shows are on. And also, it's in the lower thirds. They're telling you right now when you'll be able to see it. I'm Timothy Coleman. We'll be back right after this. Hey, creative family, welcome back to Emerging Media Makers right here on BronxNet. We are in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx, and it is time for a teachable moment. So I have a lot of fun with my background being in education and also in the arts. I have a lot of fun demystifying the types of things, steps that you can take in order to be sure that you're walking a very clear and specific path towards the creation of your idea. Now, in our last segment, you saw in my conversation with Patrick that we were speaking about intellectual property and making sure that you are protecting your idea as you're developing it and as you're getting it ready to release to the world. So I want to just take a quick little moment for anyone who just tuned in who might have missed that and say, when you come up with the name for your idea, it's always good to try and make it unique. Right? Don't pick something that is just general, like bread, right? Like you don't want to call your TV show something that's already out there and that is so like well known, and there's nothing unique about it that would make it identifiable to your audience so that they know what you're doing. I mean, unless you're a chef, and even then, that's kind of a boring name. So pick your name or the name that you believe you are going to have for your show, because sometimes it changes as you're developing your idea. Pick your name, go to Google, look it up, see if that name already exists. If you see the name of what you're trying to come up with in multiple other places, odds are you don't want to touch it, and you want to do something that is going to put a spin on that name so that people will hear it and immediately begin to identify that name with you as your brand and as your product. Now, another thing I do beyond just searching Google for the name that you come up with, I also go to all the different social channels that I'm intending on engaging with my audience with, and I look up and see if that handle is also available. So as an example, let's just make up a company, let's just call it TV Camera. Just nice and easy. So I would go to Google, I would look up and see, is there a company already incorporated called TV Camera? And is that name really indicative of like what I'm gonna be talking about to the audience and what's gonna make that special in my show? Then I'm gonna go over to, let's say, Instagram, and I'm gonna look up the handle @TV Camera and see if that already exists. Odds are there are going to be thousands of people who have already come up with some variation of that. So the more you see the results coming in that are super similar to where you're coming from, the less easy it's going to be for your audience to find you. The name that you choose is a part of your branding. The handle that you use, the @ symbol, they call it a handle, the handle that you use on your social media platforms is also a part of your branding. Now, another part of your branding is also your logo. As you can see with the Emerging Media Makers logo, it's a phoenix. Now, I created this logo to represent the access producers that we have here at BronxNet, and it has a double meaning. So the phoenix in and of itself, if you could see lower into that picture, you would be able to see all of the feathers and all the fire and all the ashes that are on the ground. Because for me, one thing that bothers me is that a lot of people, when you ask them about the Bronx outside of New York, all they know is that the Bronx was burning. All they think about are the stories that a lot of the newscasters want to put in front of you. They only tell you the bad stuff. They only tell you about the crime. But there are so many phenomenal things happening here in the Bronx. There are so many like uber talented people doing great work, especially here on our stations, but also, you know, all around. You can walk down the street and see the talent. You can go into the subway and hear the drummers and hear people singing their hearts out. We are culturally rich in the Bronx. So I wanted a logo that represented rising from those ashes. And what better to do that than the phoenix? So I went to an online program. There are so many of them. I won't call out a bunch of options, but you can definitely go to the App Store for whichever type of phone you have and look up any sort of a creative type of logo creation program. You can go to Google and just type in, what are the top 10 logo creation apps? And look at those lists and start to visit those names and see if the app is easy and accessible for you to use. It doesn't really matter which one you use as long as you have a nice quality photo. Once it's done, that becomes your logo. That becomes what you add to your website. That becomes the logo that you use on your TV show. That becomes the logo that you put on all of your branding. If you got a t-shirt, put your logo on the front with the name of your company or organization or whatever you're doing, and you become the billboard for your great idea that you're going to release to the world. There are so many options out there, and it's very easy to get kind of lost and start drowning in like all of the possibilities. Don't worry about trying to keep up with what everybody else is doing. Find an app that works for you, that you like, that gives you the results that work for your product, for your idea on branding. Almost all of them will help you choose a bunch of different colors that work for you. You can play with the fonts in terms of what you're using when you write your name on your logo. They're all customizable. So don't worry that you pick something and then you find out 50 other people are using something different. If you find something that works for you, stick with it. Learn that product inside and out, because you will never get to a point where you feel masterful about a particular product if you're always looking for the latest thing and the latest thing and the latest thing. When AI, artificial intelligence, when AI came out, everybody, and even now to this very second, everyone's playing the one-up game. Oh, now I got to use this AI website to create whatever. Don't worry about that. Technology is always going to move faster than humans anyway. Find what works best for you, relax into it, get what you can out of it, and when it's time, you'll know it's time to move on to something else. The products are coming out like hotcakes, hotcakes, hotcakes. So you're never gonna be able to automatically keep up with all of it. Don't give yourself that stress. Pick your name, research your idea to see how many times that name may be in an instance on the internet. Get your website situated. Look at the handle on all of your social platforms. Create your logo that is unique to your brand. And right there, you've already created the foundation of launching yourself into the world. Here's the other thing I want to say really quickly. Just because you pick a logo today does not mean that in 2 years you can't change it. Look at the platform Twitter. It was a blue bird, now it's a black and white X. Okay, you can change your branding down the road, but don't change it every month because you come up with a new idea and a new idea and a new idea, because it's gonna make it hard for your audience to stay engaged. It's gonna make it hard for them to constantly try and find you. Don't keep changing the name of your company 100 million times. That's why spending time getting it all lined up before you release your idea to the world is gonna benefit you like nothing you've ever heard of, okay? Because you've got to create your following before you start changing your branding and your product. People will stick with you if you allow them in and create that accessible connection with them. And again, like I said in a previous Teachable Moment, it's all about the art of storytelling. You can have the best branding, the best logo, the most creative name. If your show, your podcast, your Insta Reels, your whatever it is, if you're not talking about anything and the content isn't really any good, you've spent all this time creating all this stuff that nobody's gonna pay attention to. Take your time. You are on the earth for a purpose. When you start living that purpose, all you gotta do is take a deep breath and take one step at a time. You will find your audience will find you. You will be able to release the types of things that are appealing to them and also appealing and interesting and engaging for yourself. Talk about something that is creative and engaging and interesting for you, and then other people will also be interested in what you're saying. Remember, you already have everything you need in order to present your original idea to the world. We will be right back after these messages.
We're gonna start the show right now. This is my favorite part. Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, this is Angel, and I am one of the instructors for the in-studio production. Here at BronxNet, we offer classes that can help you elevate, expand, and start your television career. All you have to do is sign up at bronxnet.org/education. For the past 7 years, I have been in various productions, spanning from talk shows, independent films, news reports, art displays, teachings, musical performances, and many more. Ain't that right, Angel? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Angel. There are a lot of creative individuals that we're just waiting to sign up for the class. And if I may, can I also express that? Thank you, Angel. That's all the time we have left. Visit bronxnet.org/education and become a producer by taking the course. The class I offer is also in English, en español y también bilingüe. Nos vemos en la próxima clase.
Hey, creative family, that wraps it up for us here for another episode of Emerging Media Makers. Thank you to all the crew and everybody who makes it possible for one person to be in front of the camera. It takes a team. You are appreciated. We'll see you guys next time.